The evaluation process begins in Banner by ensuring that all information is current and accurate. It's important to remember that all of the labor position information contained in Banner comes directly from a completed status form. In order to ensure that all Banner information is current, you should notify the Student Payments Office anytime there's a supervisor change. This Banner screen shows a portion of the information recorded for the labor position of Hunter Kanoy. This is the field where we will find the designated supervisor for this student. You should note that this Banner field has room for only one supervisor. We are unable to designate one person who is responsible for time approval and another who is responsible for the evaluation. The supervisor listed here is responsible for both time reporting and the student labor evaluation. This person should be the one who directly oversees the work of the student and has first-hand knowledge of the student's work performance. It's important to note that the designated supervisor recorded in Banner will receive all evaluation and time entry correspondence from the Labor Program Office, as well as any emails generated out of either system. The beginning of the evaluation period will be announced with an email to the campus community, with almost all evaluation emails originating out of onlinecourseevaluations.com. The schedule for email notifications and reminders are predetermined before the evaluation period begins. It is also important to remember that you will continue to receive email reminders until you complete all evaluations that are assigned to you. Please contact the Labor Program Office if you require any corrections and adjustments to your evaluation links. Here is an example of a typical email reminder for the student labor evaluation. The email contains general information about conducting the evaluation and will also identify the origination of the email, onlinecourseevaluations.com, plus the name of your contact person if you have questions regarding the process. The notification will also contain login instructions, found under the signature line of the email. To enter the system, simply click on the provided link and supply your Berea username and password. It is important to set your spam filters to allow emails from onlinecourseevaluations.com, and the help desk can help you navigate through that procedure. After clicking on the link, you will be taken to a login screen. Insert your Berea username and password into the designated fields. This will be the same information you used to log into your Berea email accounts. After inserting your username and password, you will enter the evaluation system, where you will see links to all active evaluations assigned to you. If the links are incomplete or incorrect, you should contact the Labor Program Office as soon as possible in order to have them corrected. It's worth noting that this screen also allows you to see information such as the evaluation year, the student name, the beginning and ending dates of the survey, and what part of the evaluation is currently being conducted, midpoint or final. To begin an evaluation, simply click on one of the Evaluate buttons. Upon entering the evaluation, you will see relevant student and position information, such as name, ID number, departmental, organization, and account number, position title, and WLS levels. You will want to double-check this page before beginning to ensure that you are evaluating the correct person. The bottom of the first page includes instructions that you should read, especially if this is your first time in the system. The color coding of the scoring frames gives a visual reference where a student might be scored based on his or her performance. In this example, the red areas are showing varying degrees of performance that is below expectation, and where improvements are needed, while the white and blue areas are showing degrees of performance that is meeting or exceeding expectations. After reviewing the information, click Next in order to proceed to the evaluation. You will see 7 key sections that you will be considering for your student. In this example, we are considering the first section, Attendance. The bullet points found underneath serve as descriptors that will help guide your thinking in this area as you evaluate. You will score by clicking on one of the radial points under a number. These will be on a sliding scale, with some areas being weighed more than others. Some rating scales are 0 to 10 points, while others are 0 to 20. After scoring in this area, enter all supporting comments, and then you are ready to move to the next section. Sections 2 and 3 deal with the areas of accountability and teamwork. Notice the scoring frames have now shifted to a 10-point scale, but retains the color coding in order to help guide you through the process. Sections 4 and 5 deal with initiative and respect. Sections 6 and 7 deal with learning and job-specific areas. Notice that these areas have shifted back to the 20-point scale. It's important to understand that the job-specific area deals with how the student fulfills basic work requirements and objectives that have been articulated in his or her job description. In order to evaluate this area, it is important that you maintain a current job description for each position in your area, and to ensure that they have been reviewed by your students. When you have completed scoring and entering comments, you now have two options. Clicking Save for Later allows you to save the information and return to the evaluation at a later date. When using this function, you will continue to see the evaluation link each time you re-enter the system, provided the supervisor evaluation timeline is still open. Clicking Next will take you to the final submission page. The final page contains a composite score of all the ratings for this student. In addition, you will again find a Save for Later function on this page, in order to return to the evaluation at a later date. The Print function allows you to print a PDF version of the evaluation before saving or submitting. Finally, you will have a Submit function that allows you to submit all survey information. Typically, submitting is done after the student conference and all evaluation adjustments have been made. It is important to remember that this process finalizes the evaluation and prevents any further edits. Once finalized, the evaluation link disappears, and you will no longer have access to the evaluation for that student. You will also view a scoring legend that will assist you in better understanding the composite scores. Also notice the underlined comment box at the bottom of the screen that requests supervisors to use the comment box to explain when rating students above or below the suggested range for meeting expectations. In addition, it is the text designations found here that appears on the student labor transcript and not the numerical scores. To recap, you should use the Save for Later function when you need to return to the evaluation more than once, such as times when you haven't met with your students for the evaluation conference, or when you feel the need to further discuss the results and possibly edit the form before submitting. Remember that you can enter as many times as needed when using this function, provided the supervisor timeline is open. You should use the Submit function whenever you are finished and ready to finalize the evaluation. This is typically done after your evaluation conference with a student has concluded, and no further edits are needed. Remember, once submitted, the evaluation is locked and you will no longer have access to it. All evaluations are divided into year-long and term labor enrollment agreements. A year-long cycle begins in the fall and concludes at the end of the academic year in the following spring. Please notice the areas that define when the mid-year review and final evaluations are to occur. In contrast, a term labor enrollment agreement will conclude with a final evaluation at the end of the term. This is typically used with December graduates, student teachers, students who study abroad, some TAs, and nursing majors doing clinical work. There is also a time in which the system recognizes positions that were terminated early. If a student has worked 7 weeks or more in a position and then left the position for some reason, you will be asked to conduct a final evaluation on that student in order to close out the survey. Those will usually occur at other times than the scheduled mid-year and final evaluation periods. The following frames will walk us through the entire process in order to better understand how the evaluation cycle functions. It begins with the supervisor in timeline number 1, where the supervisor conducts the evaluation and meets with the student. Once completed, the supervisor should submit the evaluation prior to the beginning of the student timeline. It will conclude with the final results being emailed to the student. The student is then allowed to access the system in order to respond to the comments and scoring. The student response is returned to the supervisor through email from the evaluation system. In supervisor timeline number 2, any incomplete or non-submitted evaluations are reopened as a courtesy to allow for the finalization of all results. Information submitted at the conclusion of the midpoint evaluation will be copied and seen on the final evaluation at the end of the contract period. The final evaluation period essentially repeats the midpoint. However, when the supervisor submits the evaluation at the end of the final evaluation period, the process will conclude for the entire term or year. Once submitted and finalized during this period, the evaluation is closed and the evaluation scores are recorded in Banner. You will no longer be able to edit an evaluation at this point. We should also mention that supervisors do not have access to evaluations whenever the supervisor timeline closes, and we will enter into the student timeline for student review and response. Students, likewise, will not have access to evaluation results whenever the supervisor timeline is open. Supervisors should strive to conduct evaluations early in the first timeline and not during the courtesy second supervisor timeline. Waiting until the second timeline prevents students from viewing evaluation results by the supervisor and will diminish the learning opportunities that the entire process encourages. Finally, if you need to see a recently completed evaluation that has been submitted and is currently closed, you may do so by following these simple steps. Log into the evaluation system using the same link emailed to you to conduct the evaluation. Remember, the opening screen may or may not contain evaluation links depending on what you've just completed and whether or not there is an open supervisor timeline in the system. Click on Review Forms and then Completed Evals. You should see a list of recently completed evaluations on this page. To see an evaluation, click on Print to bring up a second window that shows a PDF composite of the evaluation. At this point, you may elect to only view the results, or you may use the print function to print a copy on a printer of your choice. Also, additional results of evaluations conducted in previous years can be found in the Reports menu under Survey Results, where you will have several filter options available to you in order to find the specific information needed. Past evaluation information will come to you in a report format and not a PDF composite view as just previously described. This concludes the Student Labor Evaluation overview. If you have questions, contact the Labor Program Office or email us at training@berea.edu. Thank you.